What up, motherfucks? It's time for a random ass video. This was influenced by a previous video of mine, and a lot of people send me emails asking me to elaborate, but more importantly, saying thanks and things like that. You're welcome to all you motherfucks. I do what I can. The thing I'm talking about, of course, is motivating yourself, right? People wanted me to talk about this. Here we are, motherfucks. You ask, I deliver. Deal with it. So basically, what I'm saying is this, motherfucks, and this is what people were asking. They were saying, well, I don't know. How do I start making change? How do I start doing what I want? There is only one step, and that is do it, motherfucks. Do it. Don't dick around. Do it. Now, if you want to dick around, you know, if you don't care about certain things, I don't think anyone should make you feel bad about that, right? So, perfect example, you know, when I was heavier, right, I would typically stay home, and after I'm done with work, I'd order a pizza, let's say, have some Coca-Cola up in this bitch, eat some dessert, and gain some weight while I enjoy some TV. This is a unique pleasure. People that have always been gym rats will never know the pleasure of doing this several days in a row. But I do know that pleasure, motherfucks. And I also know the pleasure of being a gym rat and being a high-level athlete. Not high-level like professional, but high-level like being in incredibly good shape. I used to box in college, motherfucks. So I know these things. And they both have their pros and cons. Like when I was like in extremely good shape at boxing, running like 10 miles a week, right? Non-stop, on top of my boxing sprints and boxing workouts and going to the gym. When I was doing all this, spending like 4 hours a day basically working out, right? On most days. When I was doing this, I didn't have as much time. You know? I didn't have time on my hands. I couldn't drink. And I don't drink anymore now, but like I couldn't drink. I couldn't eat what I wanted. You know, I couldn't smoke. There's a lot of things, a lot of sacrifices that I had to make. And there's an opportunity cost for these sacrifices. Sometimes you want to eat, you can't. On the other side of the coin, if you want to be fat, that's fine. Some people could reasonably place the joy of eating whatever you want, whenever you want, drinking whatever you want, whenever you want. They might place more emphasis on that than they do on being in shape. And that's fine too. Nobody should tell you what is and is not good for you. You decide that. However, motherfucks, you have to be honest with yourself. The biggest problem people have is they are dishonest with themselves, motherfucks, with themselves. Number one thing you should do is don't be dishonest with yourself, and also don't do it with others, but first with yourself. When you look at yourself in the mirror, motherfucks, do you look away immediately? Are you ashamed with what you see? If that is the case, you've got some work to do. Something in your life isn't going the way you want it to go. And that is also fine. Not everything goes the way you want it to go. Believe you me, motherfucks. But that doesn't mean that you're going to roll over like a little bitch. You know, in this world we have two types of people. External locus of control and internal locus of control. The external locus of control people are the ones that think that things happen to them. This happened to me. It must be through no fault of my own. See what I'm saying? I was hanging out with two of my friends one day 10 years ago. These two guys are Muslims, right? And one of them comes from a Muslim country that has like the little crescent moon and star on the flag, right? And he has a flag of this on his rear view mirror. And he's driving, he gets pulled over by the cops. Not gets pulled over, but like gets pulled over, it's the way to put it, as part of like a DUI checkpoint, you know? And he's afraid for some reason. I think he had like a drink or two. Great guy. Still good friends with him to this day. Or no, this might be the other guy. Who knows? The point is, cop pulls him over. He's like, "Yes, sir, how you doing?" Da, 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 da. Cop's like, "All right, you know, wait here for a second." He goes back, and my two friends start saying like, "If this cop busts us, we're gonna say he pulled us over because of this flag, right?" So in other words, they invented Islamophobic discrimination, right, in order to potentially escape what the cop would do to them, right? Now the cop didn't do it. You know, he didn't give them a ticket because they didn't do anything wrong. But they were ready to invent this shit. Now one of my friends, I know he wouldn't do it because he's an honorable guy and he knows it's wrong. But they started convincing themselves that that's what happened. And I was like, hold on a second. Could it be the fact that you turned without a signal right next to a DUI checkpoint? Could it be that you actually did what he accused you of doing? Are you going to be a pussy and just pretend that this happened because you're a Muslim? It didn't, motherfucker. And then they agreed with me. They're like, oh, you're right. That's not cool. But that's the point I'm trying to make. Some people are like that. They think things happen to them because of no fault of their own. A real man would have looked at that situation, right? And he would say, okay, I fucked up. I take responsibility for my mistake. That's why you pulled me over. Even if that weren't the case, you say, that's my fault. That part of it I did do. That's a strategy that I've employed with cops my entire life. I've taken responsibility for my shit. And there was a time for like 2 years where I got pulled over like 15, 16 times because I would speed like an idiot when I was a kid. And I didn't get one ticket, motherfucks. You want to know why? And I was pulled over by all sorts of cops. Broads, men, white cops, black cops, Hispanic cops, Asian cops. All of them responded to two things: respect and honesty. And I was like, they're like, do you know why I pulled you over? I'm like, yeah, I was speeding. I should have been doing that. I'm very sorry. I'll try to slow down. I didn't mean to do it. But, and I would tell them, I take full responsibility. If you want to give me a ticket, I'm not going to give you shit. And almost always they would give me a warning. Almost always, motherfucks, because they understood. Shit, we all fuck up once in a while. But this guy is not blaming other people. You know, he's not driving his car going 75 miles in a 60-mile area and saying, well, those two other cars were going 76. He's not being a pussy about it. Because that's not a good argument. Oh, they're also breaking the law, so I should be left alone? No, motherfucker, I pulled you over. I picked you, pussy. I picked you because I knew you'd say some shit like that. Right? I don't mention that shit ever. Don't talk about things that don't involve you, honestly. But the most important thing here is to learn to develop an internal locus of control. Because as we say, every problem you have, the common thing that all those problems have is you, motherfucker, is you. You can always improve yourself. Just like when my parents would tell me when I was younger, they're like, Hader, learn defensive driving. Like, don't drive like an idiot, because I had this stupid ass mentality of like, well, if we crash, that guy crashed into me. Who gives a fuck? A better driver, a defensively minded driver, would have avoided the accident altogether. And he wouldn't be sitting like a bitch trying to assign blame to other people. You see what I'm saying? That's what it comes down to. When you look at yourself in the mirror, take a good hard look. I mean this literally. Because I know people that look at themselves in the mirror and they just keep walking. They're like, I don't like what I see. You know? And then they go eat, or they go do something that like perpetuates that self-hatred. You know? Don't do that. Now, I personally believe it's better to develop self-esteem and to not care. To be like, oh, I'm fat, that's what I like. You know? Like, for example, like I smoke hookah all the time. I know it's not good for me. I'm going to quit eventually because I'm not trying to die early, right? But I love it, and people are like, oh, you're addicted, you can't quit. I'm like, no, motherfucks, I can do anything I want. I just don't want to, right? I just don't want to, and I believe that's the case for everybody. You know, if you think that you have an addiction, unless it's like a physical addiction, like heroin or something, right? But if you have like a mental addiction, you're like, I have to eat things that I like, I can't, you know, diet, I'm failing, right? It's because you don't want it enough. You are placing more value on eating what you want than looking the way you want to look. And that's fine, motherfucks. That's fine. That's on you. You make that decision. All I'm saying is if you look at yourself and you're like, I'm not satisfied about this thing, right? You look internally, you're like, I'm not satisfied about this. I'm not satisfied about that. I'm not very good at this thing and I'd like to be. That's how you improve. You first have to be honest with yourself. To tell yourself, I am not good at this. There's nothing wrong with that. I am not good at this. Like, I'm not good at basketball, for example, right? I have no desire to improve, but if I did, I wouldn't go in there thinking like, oh my God, I'm getting so much better. I'd be like, no, I'm shit. I'm going to keep going and do the best I can. If you do the best you can, you will always succeed, at least to some degree. You might not, like if you do the best you can, you might not go to Harvard med school, right? You might not reach that because there's other factors, but you'll go to some med school. You'll go somewhere, right? You might start a business. You might not become the next Bill Gates, but you might, motherfucks. And more importantly, you might become someone that makes a great living and is independent of like a boss or work culture. See what I'm saying? That's what's important here. What's important here is believing in yourself, but the only way to do that is to be honest with yourself and become someone who takes internal locus of control. Someone that doesn't externalize their shortcomings. Someone that doesn't blame the cop for pulling you over when you fucked up. That is such a bitch move. That's such a sissy move. It's like this man or woman is coming out of their car, right? Sometimes in the rain, motherfucks. Sometimes in cold weather. They're coming out of the car because you are not a responsible enough person. You are not a responsible enough man or woman. You are a pussy and a burden on society. So much so that society has to hire this person to get out of the car to correct or even stop your shit behavior. Because you are not mature enough to behave accordingly. You are not mature enough to obey speed limits. So we have to hire someone to stop you when you speed, like a child, come out of the car and say, hey, you can't do this, motherfucker. Here's a ticket. And then you have the nerve to blame that guy? Like, how soft is that? It's not even a matter of being a pussy. It's literally a softness, almost a physical, like a malleability, you know? You see this person, you're like, this person will never endure anything hard. They will break immediately. You know, one thing in America that people really like to talk about, and I'm sure it's the same in Canada, but in America for sure, is how hard they've had it. In America, everyone bitches and moans about how hard their life has been. And then they tell me these things, motherfucks, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound so hard. I think my life's been harder. I really do. You know, if you guys knew some of the things that I had to go through, you'd be like, holy shit, that's the guy that's talking to us? I thought it was the normal guy. And I am a normal guy. Don't get me wrong, you know? Things that have happened. I grew up in a war-torn country, motherfucks. You know what I'm saying? My family life has been great. You know, don't get me wrong. Like, my parents are awesome. They both love me. You know, I have 2 parents, praise God, right? So many good things. But I've had some hardships too. I don't ever talk about them. Ever. I don't like, and it's not because like, you know, I don't want attention or anything like that. It's because I don't see the point. We all have difficulties. We all have hardships. But in America, people really, really talk about them. And once in a while, it's important to tell people, what you think is hard is not hard, motherfucker. One time, I was in a city, a big city in America, and I got my car towed. I was there for vacation. Fuck it, it was Washington, D.C. I went to some museum with my girlfriend at the time. This was 10 years ago. And I parked my car somewhere, and in D.C., if you park your car everywhere, they fucking tow this motherfucker, right? So they tow it. I'm like, fuck, they towed my car. So I find the tow truck company, and I call their bitch asses. Right there, I'm like, where's my car? Like, oh, come here. They give me an address. I put that son bitch on my phone. I start walking towards it. I start heading towards Southeast D.C. Now, I knew that in Washington, D.C., Southeast D.C. is the ghetto. It is the bad part of town, right? People don't really like to go there. White people don't really like to go there. I'm white, motherfucks. But I tell my girlfriend, I'm like, what the fuck's gonna happen to us? It's our neighborhood. They're not animals, they're people just like me and you know what I'm saying? Like, they're just people that are poor. People in the ghetto, they're not monsters, right? So I'm walking through this ghetto, right? No one bothered me. I saw plenty of people. No one bothered me. I found the tow truck thing. I paid them their insane, exorbitant fee for keeping my car for an hour, right? And I left and I went about my way. Now, my girlfriend and her friend were terrified because they're like, we're walking to the ghetto. I'm like, nothing's going to happen. Not everyone's a monster. Relax. You know? They were terrified because they had fallen into that idea of like, people that are poor are bad. You know, we were young. I didn't give a shit. We walked through. And we walked considerably through this quote-unquote ghetto. You know what I saw in Southeast D.C.? Houses with satellite dishes, public transportation, and swimming pools. Okay? I don't give a fuck what you think. That's not a hard life. If you in the summer can go to a swimming pool, you have no idea what hard is, motherfucks. You have no idea. But in America, people really, really, really like to talk about how difficult their life is, or how hard things are because of their gender, or their sexual orientation, or their race. Have you ever stared a tank down? Motherfuck. Do you know what it's like to be woken up by gunfire outside? Every day? And I don't mean like a handgun. I mean, Kalashnikov, motherfucks. You know? Do you know what that's like? I do. Not the tank part, but I do. I didn't even give a shit. I was like, whatever, man, this is life. You know? All I'm saying is this, motherfucks. It ain't always as hard as you think. And if I came to this country with the mentality of, I've had it hard. Hey, everyone here, I've had it the hardest. I haven't had it the hardest. I'm an immigrant. I've had it really hard. If I came in with that pussy-ass attitude, I would not have the mentality that I have today. I would not be doing the things that I'm doing today. None of this. You know what I'm saying? Because that is an external locus of control. That is blaming things on other things. Yeah, I went through some shit in terms of like seeing war and seeing things like that. Big fucking deal. Get over it, sissy. Get over it. That's one thing that I don't understand. In this country, people just don't get over shit. You know, they just sit there like, oh, crying and bitching and moaning. Get over it, man. Fucking get over it. You know? Don't be a bitch. And that's the thing. This happens because people aren't honest with themselves. If you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, hey, some of this is my fault. Maybe not all of it, motherfucks. It's not your fault if you were born in Southeast DC in the ghetto, but maybe it's your fault if you just stay there. Take a bus, go work at the McDonald's in Northwest DC, or Northeast, whatever the fuck is the good part, right? Go there, and then start moving your way up. That's how it happens, you know? But if you continue to think, oh shit, this is that is this, oh, the McDonald's is too tempting, that means that's on you, bro. That's on you. You can't blame that on anybody else. You can't blame that on the McDonald's being there. Like Lupe Fiasco said, complaining about the liquor store, but what you drinking liquor for, motherfuck? Same shit. So for all of you that asked me to talk about step one, if you will, on how to improve yourself, there is only one step, I would argue. And that step is being honest with yourself. Anything short of that is not going to get you the things that you want or the things that you need. You know, you might get lucky. Things always happen. You might get unlucky. That happens too, cucks. But what I'm saying is this. Look yourself in the mirror. And I don't mean this metaphorically. I mean literally. Go to a mirror and look at yourself and say, honestly, to your reflection, say, what am I good at? What am I not good at? And out of the things that you are not good at, pinpoint the things you want to be good at. But be honest if you're not good at them. Don't say, oh, I'm average at this. Like, I know that I am a below average basketball player. You know what I'm saying? I know I am a below average, like, runner now. I used to be a super above average runner. But right now, with all this smoking, like, I think I'm a below average runner. You know? I'm not going to sit here and be like, and rest on my laurels. Oh, I used to run a mile in like 5 minutes, whatever, you know? I'm not going to like sit there and do that. Now I'd probably run a mile in like 10 minutes. You know? I'd probably be out of breath because like of all the smoking that I've done, motherfuckers. You know? But I know I can get it back, right? I know if that's what I want to improve, I can improve it. So there you have it, cucks. There you have it. You can't just sit there like a bitch and look at yourself in the mirror and just look at and notice only the good things. That's how you get complacent. You think to yourself, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm smart. It doesn't matter, I'm handsome. I'm this, I'm that. And then, how do you reconcile that when those traits do not translate to results associated with those things? How do you translate that when you think, I'm handsome, but you don't get laid? Or you think, I'm smart, but you're not doing anything intellectual? Or you're not using your mind to make money or whatever, right? How do you translate that? You can't. But you gotta be honest with yourself. That's by far the first step. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm gonna be honest. I'm honestly going to be like, I'm going to say like it is. I'm not as attractive as I thought. I'm not as confident as people think I am. I'm not as smart as people think, whatever the case may be. You know, it'll vary, motherfucks. But it is an integral first step to any kind of improvement. I've been riding this high for the last few weeks. And things have been working out. Surprisingly, motherfucks, things have been working out when I try and I work hard. I'm figuring shit out. And that's what I want for everybody. And that's why I did a little mini rant on that pussy boy Mustafa Ali from WWE. Because it had to be said, cucks. And I'm glad that it impacted so many of you. You know, keep it coming, motherfucks. Stay there. Stay there. Keep it going, cucks. Keep it going. And don't let anyone tell you what makes you happy. Only you know that shit, motherfucks. And that's the beauty of it. Only you know it. And you already know it. In your heart, you know it. In your heart, you might want to be a mime or a circus performer, but you don't have the satchel to go and tell people, I'm going to be a mime because of what they'll think about you. Fuck them. What do you think of that? Fuck these motherfucks. You want to go be a mime? Put on some white face paint, motherfucks, and start pulling on an imaginary rope. I don't give a fuck. Do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy. You only get one of these motherfuckers. You only get one life as far as I can tell, motherfucker. You want to throw it away doing what other people want you to do? It's never too late to switch it around. It's never too late to make something of yourself. It's never too late to do what you want to do. You can do it right now, unless you're in prison. And if you're in prison, how the fuck are you listening to me? You know what I'm saying? There you have it, motherfucks. See you later. Take care of yourself up in this bitch. And take care of each other like a Jerry Springer thing, motherfucker.